Hello guys, welcome back to BoreDraw. This is episode 9.
Oh, smashing through
We're
them.
getting through these, you know.
Did everyone enjoy the absolute banger that was last episode?
If you didn't,
Yeah, give it a listen.
I mean, something wrong with your ears.
Give it a listen.
Yeah, today, the season is fast approaching.
Yeah.
There's not long left now.
We got steam through these team previews.
Yeah, we need to rush these now. We're going to give every team their due diligence. That's the word.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be discussing Southampton. We've got Everton and Leeds on the agenda. We're going to be starting with Southampton. Thoughts?
They're such a weird, in-between team, aren't they? Because, they've been in the Prem for a hot minute now. They're never really in threat to get relegated, but they're never really doing something where you're like, oh, I could see you getting a Europa.
Occasionally
or a
lose 8-1
They're
or
just
8-2.
stuck in mid-table mediocrity. Don't want to beef anyone.
I mean, they've got a good manager, though, in Ralph Hasenhüttl.
Yeah, their subreddit is called Ralph Hampton FC.
Yeah, I mean... He's a very exciting manager, and at times they play phenomenal football. But then, like I said, they go and lose 8-0 or 8-2, whatever.
Yearly,
it's crazy. So, it's been fairly quiet on the Southampton front.
I wouldn't be too inspired if I was a Southampton fan.
But are they a team that really need to make wholesale changes?
Nah, they're not.
The squad was beginning to age a bit. I mean, obviously Shane Long's now gone to Reading.
Yeah.
But he was never really putting up any trees towards the end of his career there. They have signed, which I think is a phenomenal signing, Gavin Bazunu from Man City, who was on loan at Portsmouth last season. Very, very, very highly rated youngster. Obviously, anyone that comes through the Man City Academy is going to be half a player anyway.
And they had a bit of a mare in the goalkeeper department, didn't they? Because Southampton, they lost Fraser Forster. Then Alex McCarthy, I think he had a falling out with Ralph. Then they got Willy Caballero in. I think they made that a permanent last year, but they needed some reinforcements. And obviously, Bazunu's young, 20 years old. All their signings, that's one thing I liked about their signings. So they've all been young profile, under 25.
Their oldest one being Joe Aribo, who's still relatively young in terms of football at 25. Gavin Bazunu on loan at Portsmouth last season. I think he was, if he wasn't, I think he was close to being League One's goalkeeper of the season. Portsmouth fans just raved about him. He was absolutely phenomenal for them. And I think it's a really astute signing for them because obviously Fraser Forster's getting on a bit. Alex McCarthy, he done fairly well when he came in as a replacement. He's never really turned out to be the player that everyone thought he would be. And Gavin Bazunu really could be the real deal. He's not like the most proficient goalkeeper with the ball at his feet, but he is only 20 years old.
Yeah, that's something.
But his shot stopping ability is unquestioned. He is phenomenal.
Last week, weren't we? It's like if you're kind of bottom half of the league team, you want a shot stopper over a ball playing goalkeeper because you're going to have your goal peppered 24/7, and the most important thing is keeping that score down. And so I think, like you said, Bazunu's a smart signing. And they've made quite a lot of, like I was saying earlier, young signings. I think it's something that I think is a new direction for Southampton because they've always had kind of like we were saying earlier, a bit of an older squad full of Prem-proven players. But they're kind of going in this new direction. Similar like Crystal Palace in that they needed a bit of a rebuild. They needed kind of a new set of assets because after they lost Danny Ings and kind of people getting old, they kind of didn't really have many players that were either in their prime or going into their prime. They kind of had a lot of spent forces. And so to stock up on, 7 or 8 new signings, all under the age of 25, I think their squad in the next couple of years, once these players develop a bit more, have hopefully a good few seasons under Hasenhüttl, they'll be able to sell them on for maybe 2-3 times their worth or what they signed them for. I think that's, if you're a bottom half of the league team, it's got to be the model, is getting young players, develop them well and turn them on to big money.
Yeah. So if we just go for a little run through who they signed. So they signed Gavin Bazunu from City, for about 12 million. They've also signed Romeo Lavia from City. Can't say I actually know too much about the guy,
but I think that's the money move, isn't it? Go to these top 6 teams academies, they're under 23s, and get players that aren't getting game time.
Yeah, but that came with a price tag of around 11 million. They've also signed Joe Aribo. They signed another keeper, a Polish keeper, Nlundulu from Cheltenham, which that's just an end of loan though, isn't it? He's returning to the squad, so I don't think he'd be playing a part this season. Joe Aribo,
it's a good signing.
Very interesting player. He's very big, but for Rangers, I remember watching the final of the Europa League.
Yeah,
and he was far and away their best player. He was far and away just incredible for them, and he really is some sort of player, and it'd be brilliant to see how he's going to transition into the Premier League. Obviously, he's a step up from the Scottish Premier League. But yeah, I think he could really be exciting for them.
I think him alongside James Ward-Prowse would be a nice centre mid kind of.
Yeah.
Baishi moves on. Have James Ward-Prowse is, if he stays there, because I know he's been linked with West Ham, but if they keep him, he's like 10 goals a season in just set pieces.
Oh, exactly.
So it's an outrageous player to have.
He might score 10 from free kicks, and he might get another 10 assists from.
Yeah, he's an outrageous kind of athlete just to have.
It's phenomenal utility, just because every set piece Southampton could score, and it's just a brilliant string to have when you're Arsenal, isn't it? Just a brilliant weapon.
Yeah. In terms of players or positions that need some reinforcements, from what I could see amongst the Southampton fans, I think the consensus is they're a bit wasteful and uninspiring at the top end of the pitch. Obviously, they lost Danny Ings, and he was kind of their 10-15 goal a season man. And Che Adams, is he gone?
No, Che Adams is still there.
Is he? Oh, I don't know if I read that he went or something. Maybe he's linked to go to the Championship. But I think they need to be in the market for a striker, because I know obviously they signed Armstrong, but I think they need more. Yeah,
Adam Armstrong, he scored in their pre-season game against Leipzig where they lost 3-1 in the end. But I think it's pretty much confirmed now that Mara's joined them from Bordeaux. Another one I can't say I know too much about.
But 19,
a young player. To be honest, Adam Armstrong really could be their out-and-out striker this season. Another one that's really interesting is Moussa Dembele. He's been linked with them. He's got 53 goals in 106 games for Lyon, which is brilliant. That's a return exactly 1 every 2 games. Perhaps the interest is now cooled though once they've signed Mara, because can they really afford to splash that sort of money?
I think Dembele would be a good signing. I think when he was at Celtic, he was obviously like top dog, wasn't he? He's best player in the Scottish Premier League, but I think he is the kind of profile they need, that someone that's in their prime scoring goals, not someone that's not that the Martin's bad. I think he'll be a good player down the line, but I think they need someone that's in their prime that's going to score goals now.
Yeah, the only thing about that Dembele signing is there is interest from United and Arsenal. I think it's not a heavily rumoured transfer, but there are links. So maybe they've realised they can't really compete. But yeah, Mara, phenomenal. I mean, he could turn out to be an absolute phenomenon and tear up the league, but I can't say we know too much about him.
Yeah, for me, I'm not inspired by Southampton at the moment. I think like we've been talking about on most of the podcasts in these team previews for the new season, everyone's strengthening the league. There's so much money in the Premier League now that if you're not strengthening consistently with smart moves, you get left behind. I think Southampton, they're at a risk of being left behind.
The gap between the Championship and the Premier League, I don't think it's ever been bigger.
Yeah.
They've got Jan Bednarek still at centre-back.
Yeah, but he's been linked with a move away.
He's been linked with a move away. So there are teams sniffing around that Southampton side, and maybe this is a pivotal moment for them, because if they lose someone like Bednarek or Ward-Prowse before the end of the window and don't replace them, that's 2 of their key men.
Yeah.
Just gone. And they've got to go until at least January without being able to, reinforce and spend the money that they'll get for them. Is there anyone in particular for Southampton that you're really looking out for this season?
For me, it's always James Ward-Prowse. I like him a lot. Kyle Walker-Peters had a bit of a big season last season. I think he kicked on. He played both full-back positions, and I think he kicked on well. But I saw there's rumours that apparently Tottenham have a 30 million buyback clause on him, and they're looking into maybe triggering it. So I don't know.
How many wing-backs do Tottenham need? That's the question.
But, I don't know if they'll make it happen, because 30 million seems probably a little bit steep for him. But I think if he stays at Southampton, he'll be a good asset to have. Obviously, now they haven't got Livramento. Oh, no, they do. They still got
it's Tino Livramento.
Yeah, he wasn't on loan. He was a permanent. Yeah. I think him and Livramento are good fullbacks. And like we said last week, or the week before last week, in this league, you need good fullbacks, and they're good fullbacks.
Oh, 100%.
So for me, them two.
Yeah, for me, it's Adam Armstrong.
Yeah, you quite like Adam
he was, he was really, really good at Blackburn. I think this is the season for him, make or break. To be honest, we're going to say a lot about these in the next few teams, but he really did show in the Championship that he had the ability to be a game winner and just score some absolute wonder goals and on a consistent basis. And he hasn't really replicated that in the Premier League. But
maybe it's because it was his first season.
It does take bedding time.
Yeah, 100%.
He had to get used to Hasenhüttl's system, which is so much different.
Yeah.
From the system he was playing in the Blackburn. So yeah, he's the one that I'd really look out for this season. I really do hope he kicks on and can show the Premier League what he's about, because there is a really talented player in there. I don't know.
What do you reckon position-wise, where you think they're going to be floating around?
I would like to say mid-table mediocrity, but it's going to be a difficult one. I think it could be a slog for them. I think they're
going to be in the battle.
I think they might be finishing maybe 16th, 15th.
Yeah, I think they'll either I think they'll be in the relegation battle and probably just avoid relegation. But hopefully they prove us wrong. I quite like Southampton, like we were saying. I like Hasenhüttl. I like how he wants to play football. And I think if there's teams that kind of like obviously don't want to slate Burnley, they're obviously gone down now. But like there are teams that just play shit football and try and stay in the league. I'd rather a team play inspiring football and go down under that identity than kind of play shit football and sticking it around in the league. So, and I think they play good football, Southampton. So hopefully they prove us wrong.
Yeah, I think like in terms of as a manager, do you think Hasenhüttl's been backed enough by the club?
It's hard to say. I don't know what their finances are like, but like you never really hear in like a window, like Southampton have got a big name coming in, when they got like decent money for Danny Ings. Whereas like
they got money.
Have you seen fucking Nottingham Forest apparently offered Jesse Lingard 200k a week,
180k?
It's like how,
and that's the reason West Ham aren't getting him.
Yeah, and it's like how do teams like
they're fully breaking their wage structure to afford it, and it's like. It will take a lot of game-winning moments for Jesse Lingard to be able to pay that back, especially for a club like Forest who won't be able to afford that sort of wages easily, especially as it being their first season back in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if they think we've seen at West Ham, he was a game winner.
Yeah.
If he can do that for Forest, and if he wins them even 12 points on his own, or even 6 points on his own, it could be the difference between relegation.
I think that's the thing for me. It's just like every one of these teams that, well, not even just bottom half, but every team in the league is going out splashing the cash and getting in names, and you never really hear that with Southampton. And I kind of worry for them in the sense that if their model is not to do that, how long is that model going to last in the Premier League when the money's so big and spent so often?
Well, until Southampton actually do something and not be so boring in the league, the transfer window, we'll leave them there for now.
Getting more exciting.
Move to someone who's been on the wrong end of the transfer window and perhaps the right end.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Leeds. Obviously,
scary season last season for Leeds.
Yeah, so many injuries, season, but
got rid of Bielsa, who is like an absolute god in that city. But they brought in Jesse Marsh.
Jesse Marsh's first pre-season with them.
I was surprised by Jesse Marsh because I thought Bielsa going, they were going to bring in kind of like an uninspiring manager. Kind of like Watford when they brought in Roy Hodgson. I thought they were going to go down the lines of Allardyce.
Or Steve Bruce, someone like that.
Steve Bruce, just these boring deadwood managers. But they went kind of a bit more left field. They went to... It was from the Bundesliga, wasn't it? Oh, yeah. And yeah, I think he's quite an exciting manager. And obviously he has the connection with the Red Bull kind of system of teams.
Yeah.
And that's their big money move.
Yeah.
For Brendan Aronson.
Yeah, so Brendan Aronson obviously joined from Leipzig, just under 30 million.
Salzburg,
yeah. Just under 30 million. Just a young American player, which also is the other link with Jesse Marsh. Obviously. Yeah, they obviously the big talking points about the transfer window is them losing Rafinha and Calvin Phillips, 100%. Like two of their star players.
Literally like carried them for their Premier League.
That's what I mean. Like Rafinha, just unbelievably talented, and I think he's going to absolutely smash it at Barcelona. I think he'll be right in there with the Brazil team at the World Cup. And those players don't come by often. There's a reason that like every top team was in for him.
Yeah, 100%.
Because everyone knew how talented he was.
I think Leeds probably kind of knew he was going, and that's why they invested so heavily before he'd even signed himself into a new club, because they knew he was gone.
But Leeds have obviously lost those two players. They've got Bamford back from injury now, which is...
They made nearly like 100 million on those players.
Well, that's what I mean, but Bamford back is almost like a loose signing, because he didn't really play last season, and you could tell because around the goal area they were really struggling, and playing that Beelzebub style of play left them open a lot, but they had no one to really put the chances away. So Bamford coming back is a massive coup for them, and I think it really is a big season for him.
Yeah, 100%. I like Bamford. It's kind of like when we were talking last episode about Eze and how he was in the England fold and then got injured, and that kind of took him out of the fold. Similar to Bamford, he got his call up and then got injured. Now he's out the fold, so I hope he kicks on this season and gets himself
the difference is between
back on the fold.
The Eze situation and Bamford is that Palace weren't reliant on Eze.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Whereas Bamford was, especially in that first season, he was amazing for them.
Yeah. His link up with Jack Harrison and Rafinha was good.
Yeah.
But one player I want to talk about who I assume is got in just to replace Rafinha is Luis Sinisterra, who came from Feyenoord, and I think he's going to be a mega signing. He was linked with Arsenal, well, not linked heavily, but Arsenal were looking at him as like a winger signing. His stats are crazy from last season.
23 goals and 14 assists for Feyenoord.
Like 23?
Yeah.
They're so good. Imagine having over 30 goal assist contributions. That's so good. And only to sign him for like 22 million.
Yeah, I think this could prove to be one of the signings of the season if it really kicks on. He just leads. They obviously got players like what's his name, Jack Harrison, who's been linked with Newcastle.
Yeah, he's been linked with Newcastle.
Million, or so. Who they would have really amazing games, but then ghost for like 3/4 of the season.
Jack Harrison's weird.
But yeah, Sinisterra, I think he could really be a revelation for them. As well as they've got Tyler Adams as well.
I think that'll be a good signing.
A young American as well from the Bundesliga, signing from Leipzig. Obviously someone who Jesse Marsh really likes.
And like, there's a lot of new Americans that are breaking onto the scene that look quite good. Obviously, like Brendan Aronson, Tyler Adams, Chris Richards.
But yeah, Tyler Adams, phenomenal player, done really well in the Bundesliga for Leipzig. 15 million price tag. It's fairly hefty, but it's not. They've got a proven quantity on what he and Jesse Marsh knows what he's going to get from this.
Yeah.
And obviously, this preseason is all about him implementing his style of play. At the end of last season, it was all about survival, being hard to beat, getting every point you can. Whereas this season, I think we're going to really see a new Leeds side. Yeah,
because I was kind of worried that kind of Jesse Marsh wouldn't have enough time to implement his style of play last season. But you could already see it as soon as he joined. They went from kind of like this crazy Bielsa press to more of a kind of high line, but through the middle play. And I don't know, it impressed me how quickly he could impart his style of play on his new team.
Well,
I'm excited to see them this season.
Bielsa, he's so known for this crazy press and like just working his players to the core. Like, the players were almost dead at the end of the season, and it's a reason why
the injuries
they struggled with injuries so much. I know Jesse Marsch came in and he was shocked about the training regime, and he was literally baffled about why. He knew why they had so many injuries, and instantly sorted out like the physio situation, reduced the training schedule, and allowed players to rest more and focus more on tactics.
Ignore the dog.
Yeah. We got Ernie here as a special guest today.
Yeah, he's been
the third member of BoreDraw, but yeah. They played Villa in one of their pre-season friendlies. I don't think they played any others so far. They lost 1-0. It will take time for them to bed in, obviously, as players. The thing is, now that Bamford's back, that he's going to be playing as an out-and-out striker. Rodrigo came on to replace him at half-time. About 60 minutes into the game. And it like, when you watch Rodrigo play...
He's a weird one as well. He's like Jack Harrison. I couldn't work out if Jack Harrison's good or not. Rodrigo's the same. He was signed for like 30 million and like a big deal. Spanish international in his prime. Signed from Valencia, I think it was. And you're thinking, he's going to displace Bamford easily. He's got like pedigree.
But he's not a goal scorer, is he?
He's not really kicked on at all.
He's sort of, for me, like I sort of see him as like a worse Bobby Firmino. Like, he's brilliant in the build-up play. But in and around the areas where Firmino would actually score, Rodrigo really looks to struggle. And so I think it could be a problem for them. I know Medley will be their starting goalkeeper again this season. But they've got some young, exciting talent on the bench in Gelhardt and Greenwood. So, I mean, it's a young squad, especially like with Jesse Marsch. He's known to work with young players. I think it could be a really interesting season for them and a big season for Gelhardt and Greenwood.
Yeah. What do you reckon Leeds' remit for the season is? Just survival?
I think if you anything above like 17th is great.
Yeah.
Because you get more time to build.
Yeah, I think they, like, as hard as it is for Leeds fans, they've got to kind of forget their first season back where they finished, like 12th or whatever. Yeah. I think that was just a massive overachievement and a combination of players just running on the hype of being back in the Prem. I think Bielsa ball in like full flow, promotion, everything was just going so well. I think it's one of those things they kind of need to just regroup as a club and kind of set some realistic standards for what they want this season.
Oh, 100%. I think I've lost my train of thought, but like what they've got to do now is just rebuild. And going back to what I was just thinking of, I think their squad is better than any of the promoted teams, so I don't think they have to worry too much. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they have a better squad than Fulham.
Yeah. I think Fulham, Bournemouth, probably.
Obviously, Forest have brought in a lot of players.
Yeah, they've done quite well.
And they were very impressive in at the end of last season. But I do think that this Leeds squad is a different pedigree.
Yeah.
And
a lot more proven entities, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be interesting to see how Marsch does start the season with them, because there is a lot of unknowns in that squad, like who will be the starting strikers, how they're actually going to line up in terms of formation.
Yeah.
Because obviously losing a player like Calvin Phillips, who was that ball-winning midfielder who could play progressively as well, it's a massive loss.
Yeah, and I think it will be interesting.
And obviously they've got Adams coming in, but like, can he fulfill that role? We don't really know.
Yeah. No, I think it will be interesting for them. I think they played Forshaw a lot last season. He came back from injury. He looked quite good. So I think he'll maybe try and fill in the Calvin Phillips role and then allow Aronson and Tyler Adams to kind of dictate play and play a bit more Jesse Marsch football.
For you, if Leeds are to succeed and push beyond sort of just survival, who's the player to look out for?
I'm really excited to see Sinisterra in the league. I think he'll be... I think as good as Rafinha was, if Sinisterra kicks on and is as good as I think he will be, they won't miss Rafinha too much. And then obviously excited for Bamford to get back to full fitness and play Because, I like Bamford.
I'd like to see Bamford get a full season
He was
without
always
injury.
a solid FPL asset.
Yeah, I mean, after the first season in the Premier League, he was sort
crazy.
of everyone's team.
Yeah.
But his price has risen a couple of times since then. So, but yeah, if he does prove to kick on, especially with players like Sinistera feeding him, he could really prove to be a great asset.
Let's get on to the biggest shambles of the lot.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of this club, you are in dire straits right now. It's not exciting times. I think you were hoping that the Premier League season doesn't start for another 5 months.
So Everton shambles. So the main reason it's a shambles is because they were in a relegation battle that they weren't expecting to be in. I think a lot of Everton fans I saw at the start of last season were thinking Europa easy, and then by about Christmas they were bottom half of the table struggling, and then they lost the manager. Frank Lampard came in like the midst of a heated relegation battle. He did well to keep them up, because I think it would have been a fucking nightmare if Everton went down with the amount of money they spent, and they've got a new stadium coming to go down to the Championship. Oh mate, talking liquidation.
We'd be talking about administration.
Yeah, administration.
But they spent a ridiculous amount of money on players that haven't worked out. Players like Cenk Tosun.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Fucking,
obviously, you had the whole Gylfi Sigurdsson situation as well, which just is
James Rodriguez.
I mean, he looked good under Ancelotti for a little bit, but he never seemed to be the player that everyone thought he was going to be.
So anyway, Frank Lampard did well to keep them up, because, like we said, it would have been a disaster if they went down.
But we touched on this in the last episode with Dan from HLTCO. He was saying about how Everton fans were literally saying Richarlison is the reason they stayed in the league. Obviously, that's the biggest transfer news regarding them.
Yeah.
He's gone to Tottenham. He's a fairly hefty price tag.
60 million. I think Everton have done well to get 60 mil. But what I said when I saw this transfer, and I think I mentioned this in the podcast a few episodes back, is that any other club would get 60 mil and probably spend it better than Everton. I think they're probably one of the worst clubs, if not the worst club in the league, for like
their recruitment.
Recruitment is shocking.
I mean, I think due to financial fair play, they are having to reinvest the Richarlison money very, very carefully, because they don't have a lot to play with.
Yeah, and that probably explains why their income has been so
I mean, the last few weeks of the window are going to be massive for Everton. I mean, we're only a couple of weeks away from the start of the season, and their transfer income is very limited.
Yeah,
one that does stand out to me though is James Tarkowski. So they did lose 4-0 to Minnesota.
Shambles.
And Michael Keane,
they were throwing it down in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, Michael Keane had an absolute shocker. So this is how they lined up for it, and this is probably close enough to their starting 11 for the season. It was Pickford, Patterson, Tarkowski, Keane, Mikulenko, Gordon, Doucouré, Davies, and then Iwobi Gray, and up front it was Calvert-Lewin, which is pretty much their strongest 11.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people when that lineup came out, Everton fans were like, if we start the season like that, with that lineup, I won't be too mad. It's a decent lineup.
Yeah,
and then they go 3-0 down in half an hour.
On paper, it looks like a good lineup, but
and they're like,
where are your leaders in that? Because Michael Keane had an absolute shocker. I think he was at fault for 2 of the goals. Yeah. Patterson, their right back, he seems to be their replacement for Coleman.
Yeah.
But he is still young, and fairly unproven. The only player in that starting lineup which I'm sort of interested in seeing is Gordon.
Yeah, and he was linked with a move away. Fuck me, if they got rid of Richarlison and Gordon in the same window, if I was an Everton fan, I'd get the pitchforks out, because that'd be so bad. Because you think, as a fan of a club, if you're in a relegation battle that you're not expected to be in, if you do it year in, year out, then you kind of, you know what you're in for. But if Everton, this is a shock to them.
At one point they were up and around.
Yeah, I think they started with like 3 wins on the bounce, and everyone was like, oh, this is hunky-dory. But yeah, if you're in a relegation battle you don't expect to be in, and you survive by the fucking skin in your teeth, you think, oh, people at the upper end of the club will be like, shit, we need to look at ourselves, invest wisely, get good players in so we don't end up in that situation again. And they, instead of doing that, have just sold their best player and not done anything else. Like, how can they expect to do
on a free
anything?
from Burnley is good. He's proven Premier League, and everyone knows he's
if you're in a relegation battle,
perfect player what you want, and I think he'll be a mainstay in their team for the entire
season. But they
don't
want to be in a relegation battle. They want to be back in the talk for European spots.
But you've got players like Elliot Godfrey, you've got Mason Holgate as well, who were quite young, exciting players, but who really haven't shown the quality that was expected of them.
Don't like Godfrey.
Yeah. Dele Alli, what absolute shocker he's had.
Oh my God, did you see him miss an open goal?
Oh,
it's so bad.
Terrible.
So bad. My guy, like we said this a few episodes back, like he just needs to call it a day, go on Love Island or something.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of their players, the main one that needs a big season is Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah,
we spoke about this a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, he needs to kick on. Because like Bamford, he had 2 seasons ago, the 2021 season. Both of them were like England's number ones. Because Harry Kane was doing his thing, but he wasn't as good as he is now. He had like a bit of a meh season. And them two were like pushing Harry Kane. And now they both fell off, got injured, and come back and a bit stinky. So they need big seasons because they're not even in the England shout at all, really.
Yeah, Damari Gray, he started the season really well for them as well. He was one of the reasons that he started
scored a screamer against Arsenal.
Yeah, and clearly there is a player in him, and I think he'll be one of the...
Him and Gordon, I think, if I was Everton, happy with those wingers. You need another striker, but not just a striker. You need someone like Richarlison that can play anywhere across the front three.
Some versatility amongst that.
Because I think football's moving into kind of a place where you want players that are dynamic, that can play. So if you want to switch up a position or a formation mid-game, players can do that with ease. And you don't want players that can only play one position. You need players that are versatile.
So they've been rocking with Pickford as captain for their pre-season friendlies.
Don't even talk to me about Pickford.
He's brilliant for England.
And I don't want to mug him too hard because he hasn't let England now.
He seems to be a liability for Everton. I mean, there was a point last season where he was replaced. Was it by Begovic?
Yeah.
Just because of his poor performances. Yeah. And I mean, you had managers like Rafa Benitez and Ancelotti come in, and they couldn't make anything of this team really. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Ancelotti went on to win the Champions League with the Real Madrid team that everyone had written off basically.
Yeah.
So there must be an issue deep down within that.
Yeah, it's Everton like team. You want Everton to rebuild, but like how many times can they rebuild, spend money badly, and then say, we need to rebuild again? Because until I've seen there's a lot of people that Everton fans so they're owned by Farhad Moshiri, who I think everyone's just under the impression he's a bit of a scumbag.
I think that every Everton fan wants him out.
Yeah, I think he's the main problem.
But he has put money into the club. Yeah. I mean, I can't pretend I know the ins and outs of Everton's financial situation.
It's either he must be like the people he's got employed are either like not up to scratch and he's just got them because they're easy. There's a problem in the upper end of the chain. Yeah.
Someone somewhere along the lines is making terrible decisions.
And I think first of all, recruitment is just shocking.
Yeah, they need to have a look at... deal was, I mean, to be honest, on paper it looked like a good deal because everyone knows the player Dele Alli can be, but is he just checked out?
Yeah,
I mean,
he
keeps coming up again and again.
Yeah.
Michael Keane, he at one point everyone thought he was going to be England's starting centre back, like he just a young player who had everything to give, and he was playing so well. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, he's literally just looked like one of the worst centre-backs in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I think James Tarkowski coming in can only strengthen them. But is it enough? Like we're saying, Mason Holgate and Elliot Godfrey, still young, still got a lot to prove, but are they Premier League? That's a question.
I think Frank's in trouble. What do you reckon Everton...
I think it's going to be a hard season for them.
I think last season they weren't expecting a relegation battle. I think this season you can expect a relegation battle.
The thing is though, you look at their team, in players like Doucouré, Gray, Calvert-Lewin, they have 3 people who could win them a game. Like Doucouré is by no means like the best player in the Premier League or one of the best midfielders, but there's been spells where he's looked like he should be in the tour.
Defensively, they look shit.
I mean, yeah, they're just... I fail to see Everton really pulling up some ground and making people surprised.
No, I think it's a relegation battle for them.
100%, yeah. I think Frank Lampard, in my books anyway, is the favourite to be sacked before Christmas. I fail to see another team with a manager who, I mean, has expectations of them. I mean, I know like Bournemouth coming up with Scott Parker, I think they're going to struggle, but I don't think he's as likely to get sacked as Frank Lampard.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've seen it before. Everton are happy to switch managers.
Yeah, that's true. And I think
Bournemouth
maybe he
have to stick by theirs.
Maybe they were like, oh, we'll get you in and we'll back you. He doesn't look like he's been backed, to be fair. It's just... I think, yeah, it's going to be a long season for him.
I mean, in terms of their incoming transfers, literally it's only been James Tarkowski of late. Well, that's it. That's all it's been.
Back from loans.
I mean, they've been linked with a lot of players, but nothing really substantial.
Now, they need to make signings. I said this a few episodes back, but Harry Winks, I was saying, should go to somewhere like Fulham, but I think he could do a job at Everton. I think he'd learn a lot from Frank Lampard and kind of what Harry Winks wants to become as a midfielder. I think Frank Lampard could help him there.
I don't think he's the answer though.
No, neither do I. You couldn't rely on Harry Winks.
There's two players that really stand out through who they've been linked with. One of them is Morgan Gibbs-White, who was exceptional for Sheffield United in the Championship last season. I think he could be a really astute signing and someone who could give them something going forward, which they don't really have at the minute. The other one is Armando Broja. Obviously done really well at Southampton last season in flirts, in like he did it in
I think he'd be a good move,
but I think phenomenal. I think he could actually displace Calvert-Lewin if he doesn't 100%. Turn on like he did a few seasons ago. But if they are to stay up and even stay out of a relegation scrap, it is all down to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He needs to have a season like the one he did when he broke through into the England team. And perhaps you can write last season off due to his injury problems. But, I mean, the question is now, was that season just a one-off? Was he a meet you?
Yeah,
or can he really be a solution to Everton's problems and force his way back into the England fold? Because
personally, I reckon he's going to have half a good season, get himself a move.
I think he'll break double digits, but I don't think he'll be anywhere near Golden Boot consideration. I don't think he'll get near 20.
Okay, so to round up, so we've done Southampton, Leeds, Everton. Out of those three teams, who's finishing the lowest, do you reckon?
Everton.
Yeah, same. Who's finishing the highest?
That's a hard one because we sort of know what we're going to get from Southampton.
Yeah.
And I think their transfer window is an improvement.
Yeah.
Leeds have obviously lost two big players, but I think Jesse Marsch might be able to get something out of that Leeds team because he clearly has an idea with what he wants to do with these players that he's bringing in.
Yeah.
He's bringing in people that he knows, and obviously like the Americans as well that he's obviously spent a lot of time watching. And I think their transfer business has surpassed Southampton's even with them losing Richarlison, Rafinha and Calvin Phillips. So I would say Leeds.
Yeah, I think
Leeds as well. I think it'll be close between Leeds and Southampton. I think there'll be nothing but a few points between them.
I agree. So that rounds it up. We've got a few more teams to talk about in the coming weeks.
More teams we got about half the table to go.
I hope you enjoyed. Exciting news. We'll have a camera. I know I said this a few weeks back. There was a camera. Didn't come in time.
We've come across
but we've got a camera. You'll be able to see our faces soon. Get excited about that.
Yeah, we're going to be pumping out the content. We're going to be having pretty much episodes on a bi-weekly basis.
Yeah.
Bi-weekly?
Is that?
No. Bi-weekly every other week.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So we're going to be having
a
couple episodes.
Yeah, so get used to these lovely voices.
Yeah, we need to get these episodes pumping out.
Because Prem is back in literally like 2 weeks. So get your fantasy teams ready. Get your bets on.
Yeah,
get your ears ready for some more BoreDraw.
Hopefully doing a first draft
coming
of
thick and fast.
Fantasy leagues. Our fantasy Premier League team soon.
We'll do a predictions as well for the league table,
and we're going to do a kit ranking as well.
Yeah, now we've got hella content.
Yeah, the content will be flowing.
Yeah, so follow the socials.
Yeah, follow all the socials.
We'll get the TikTok. TikTok's going to get popping. So yeah. Get us on TikTok.
The memes will be...
Yeah. Did you... Yeah, I don't know. Just enjoy all the socials.
Dad and get 3 points.
Enjoy all the socials. It's been a pleasure.
It's been BoreDraw and it's live.